Yes, people, you know
Okay.
what comes after 104, episode 105, and we welcome back Murray Thomas. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Well, my tagline is if you like dark music, you should go back to 1977 because there are a lot of really dark albums released in 77. And we're going to start with Animals by
Oh,
Pink Floyd. Actually, one of my favorite Pink Floyd albums. But on Animals, on Dark Side of the Moon, they tried to cover everything, life and death and meaning of things and time and all, and kind of continued that theme on Wish You Were Here. On Animals, they just narrowed it down to a very simple theme, which is people suck. People, they're all either dogs or sheep and pigs, and they all suck. So, and then the music is appropriately dark, very thick, lots of guitar, lots of sound effects. I mean, even the album cover, look at it. That's just darkness there moving in. So that came out in January of 1977, and in my mind, kind of set the mood for the whole year. It was going to be a strange, rough year in music. Uh, Next up, also came out in January, is David Bowie's Low. Now you look at that, and that's got a nice bright orange cover, and the songs are kind of, at least the songs on side one, are kind of poppy and catchy. But when you dig down deep, it's another dark album. In a way, Low could be considered Bowie's therapy album. He had close to a nervous breakdown in the years before. He was a serious cocaine addict. And he and his buddy Iggy Pop decided to get sober together and move to Europe and record some music. And that's what goes on in Low. Is the song side one, if you aren't familiar, are all these short pop songs. But when you dig down to them, he's like, I've been breaking glass in your room again, and I'm always crashing in the same car. And he's singing about
Be
real
my wife.
turmoil. Yeah. Yeah, even that. It's like sometimes he gets so lonely.
Mhm.
So, and then side two is like all instrumental, a lot of Brian Eno, huge influence on that. And in my mind, it's kind of like he took the meditation to try to, exposed all his issues on side one, and now he's just trying to calm himself down and mellow out. And it quite likely worked as things went on. So then number three is the companion piece to that, Iggy Pop's The Idiot. Recorded before Low, but released after Low because Bowie wanted to be, the number one guy in this relationship. But and The Idiot, if you aren't familiar, is it's not only dark, it's almost like he's inventing industrial music on this album. It's very mechanical. It has these like lockstep beats. It actually, when I first bought this album, listened to it, it scared me because I did not understand what was going on here. I was used to Iggy being the rock and roller and all, and this is just, and again, he was digging down into his demons, calling Sister Midnight and fun, baby, fun, and just, again, just down into the deep darkness of Iggy's soul. And then we have to mention there was a Stooges album that came out in 77 or maybe 76. Since it was kind of a bootleg, an official release on this one is kind of hard to pin down. This is Metallic KO, quite possibly the darkest live album you will ever encounter. The music, frankly, ranges from passable to horrible. The band is just not in good shape, but that's kind of not surprising considering you don't listen to this album for the music. You listen to it for the 5 minutes between Cock in My Pocket and Louie Louie, when Iggy is just taunting his audience, who is pelting him with everything they can get their hands on. And he's just up there going, come on, you missed. Come on, take a better shot. Take your shot at me. And it's just incredible to listen to. You don't need to listen to it over and over again. Once is enough to get the idea, but it says something deep about the relationship between rock stars and their audience, especially when it turns antagonistic. So then we skip ahead a little bit. Of course, 1977 is the year of punk rock. And punk rock was, all the ugly emotions, anger and angst and boredom and all that turned into fairly catchy music. Number one example, the Ramones. Such poppy, energetic music talking about lobotomies and shock treatment and cretinism and just such a weird offsetting balance, but it really worked. The Ramones were an amazing band. Along the same line, we have the Dead Boys, Young, Loud, and Snotty. Very, very cathartic album. If you're feeling down and then you put this on, starts out with Sonic Reducer, I don't need nobody, don't need no mom and dad. I got my down machine, I got my electronic dream. Just high energy rock and roll. Again, working through all that angst and anger and teenage, just NUI, the whole thing. Of course, The Clash, the same thing in a little British political, actually. I mean, the economic and political situation in England in 77 was a disaster. High unemployment, high inflation, chaos in the streets, and punk rock was all reacting to that. And again, just high energy, cathartic, exciting music brought out of the worst of your emotions. I don't have the Sex Pistols, but of course they came out that year too. And then kind of the counterbalance, we have Talking Heads, their first album, which is named 77. And kind of like Low, this is like really cheerful, bouncy, boppy music. And then you realize he's, singing about psycho killers and don't worry about the government and no compassion. It's another one of those contrasty albums where all the negative emotions are there buried under the sweet, innocent poppy music. Okay, and then then we bring ourselves back to where we started pretty much. We have the second Bowie album of the year, Heroes. Dark cover, black and white. The music, which adding Robert Fripp to the Bowie Eno combo, is really hard rock. But it's also actually a hopeful album. I mean, Heroes, the title song, is one of the most hopeful albums Bowie ever wrote. So it's kind of like, he came out the other side of the darkness and produced something positive. An instrumental side, again, meditative, but, the song like Moss Garden, it just makes you feel good. And Iggy's second album of the year, same thing, Lust for Life. Oh, it's so exciting to be alive. I am so happy to be back. Here we are. And this really was the revival of Iggy's career, even though, of course, he's gone up and down for years and years and years. But this one is just actually a very positive album, even though he's, sings about some negative stuff. But it's a very, very exciting album. And then to close out the year, we're back to darkness with Marquee Moon by Television. This album makes me think of downtown Manhattan at night. Every song just has that darkness around the edge and shimmering street lights and maybe a little rain in the street. And the music is very complex. They were considered punk, but a lot of people I've heard said they actually had more in common with the Grateful Dead. They're like a jam band, but because they came out of CBGBs, and again, because they sang about dark stuff and just had this kind of chilling, very chilling atmosphere to the music. They fit in with the punks, but and in my opinion, this is the best album of 77. Just an astounding album that I can listen to forever and ever and still find new things in it. So That's a brief tour through the darkness of 1977.
Nice. There's a great YouTube video of David Bowie doing Heroes live, and it's a great version of the song. And then after the song is over, I mean, there's a banter with the audience that's really cool. He really endears himself to the audience. And after he's done with the song, he says they're going to take an intermission and come back, and the rest of the show he's going to do the entire Low album.
Wow.
So it's a really good video if you get a chance to see it.
Okay. Yeah.
And then one album that I would have put in there might have been Cheap Trick's first album,
Okay.
which I really liked. I agree with you about the television album too, by the way.
Okay. I mean, I know later Cheap Trick, I didn't really listen to the first couple albums much. I kind of got hooked in by Heaven Tonight, which is another great album. Yeah. And then, I mean, part of this, you know, there were a lot of big albums that either were released in 77 or made it big. Things like Rumors and Hotel California and all that. And just none of that did anything for me.
I was still working at the Cal Poly radio station in 1977. And when the Talking Heads album came out, we had never heard anything like that before. It was just incredible. I love that album. I still love that album.
Yep. Yeah. Don, you got anything to say about 1977?
Senior year in high school. I got a lot to say, and too much. And maybe I'll do my episode on 77 today too, just because we have very different musical interests, and there are some bands from 77 that are not well known that need to be better known.
Yeah.
So I think I'll do a separate episode rather than make this a 1 hour episode. But thank you, Murray.
Certainly.
Great to have you back, and it was so nice to see the range of the albums you did include. Some seminal albums. Wow, wow. The one I didn't know, really, I'd like to know more about is the Dead Boys one.
Yeah, pretty straightforward punk rock, you know. They had a good guitarist. They had their lead singer, Steve Baders, was a big admirer of Iggy, so he liked to, hurt himself on stage too. And
I heard of this guy, yeah, Steve Baders. What was the name of the album?
Young, Loud, and Snotty. Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely want to put some links up so people that are fans of any of these bands can hear them all.
Yeah.
Thank you, Murray. Hey, what a coincidence. We're going to finish, what is this, 105? Yeah. And we'll go right into 106 and stay in 77. Okay, everybody got it. All right. Thanks.